This podcast is presented by Visa, a network working for everyone. Overcoming the odds, rewriting the playbook, delivering under pressure, the MVPs of small business lead their teams to victory all year long. Visa is proud to provide playmakers everywhere with more tools to help grow their business and help them achieve even greater success. Because the more people we can empower, the more we all win. Visa, a network working for everyone. Did you guys know that ticket prices for sporting events actually go down right before the game? They do. There's an app called Game Time that helps you find the best last-minute deals. You can actually get up to 60% off. They even guarantee the lowest price, or they'll credit you 110%. Crazy, right? But there's more. Right now, Game Time is hooking you up with a $10 credit to try them out. Here's what you do. Download the Game Time app in the Google Play or Apple App Store. Click on the Account tab and then redeem code. Enter The Athletic. Again, that's The Athletic, all one word, and get 10% off your first purchase. This is free money, guys, but don't wait on this because the credit is only available to the first 1,000 people who redeem the code. So what are you waiting for? Download Game Time now. Best seats, lowest price, guaranteed.
This is the Athletic Football Show.
Sorry about that. Welcome to the Athletic Football Show. I'm Robert Mays. Joining me tonight is my good friend Nate Tice. Nate, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well. You're just so excited from that. What was it? The most extraordinary regular season game in lifetime and living memory, I think, as that game was being hyped up. 80 pass attempts in the rain. That was a little slinging in the rain type of game tonight. That was a lot of fun.
I'm still figuring out this mic because sometimes a little light comes on where I can't talk, so we're getting there. But yeah, it was that soaking wet game in Foxborough, a 1917 game. I'll remember it for the rest of my life. It seems like my experiences with Foxborough in any sort of big time capacity have to be disgusting. Like I just remember just fog and mist, and I remember a game in the snow trying to get an Uber from that stadium when I was covering a game there, and I had to walk to the Bass Pro Shop down the road. It's a weird setup down there if you've never seen it, but all the people getting back to their cars and now sitting on traffic on the one after watching that ugly game, I'm feeling for them. What are we taking away from that game? My first thought, terrible field goal decision by Bill Belichick. I just don't think you can kick that ball in that spot in the rain with a guy who, we heard about his plant leg 17 times over the course of that second half. That seems like a strange choice to me in that moment.
Especially like you and I were kind of doing double do. Like we're prepping for this, but we're watching the end of the game. Yeah. And like, I'm looking up and I was like, maybe it's closer than I realized. Like maybe I'm not realizing that the kick is not. That was not a close kick.
When they trotted him out there, I was like, this isn't that much of a decision to me. Like if it was a 45-yard field goal, maybe. How far was it? Wasn't it?
It was 54.
Yeah, that's in the rain. That seems like way too much.
Bad plant foot in the rain, because we all know, slipping in the rain is already one thing you have to worry about. Now imagine kicking, going in that, as we're already seeing people struggling to even grip the ball today. Like Brady almost went under 50%. It was so rainy today, and that just beautiful October football weather in New England.
They managed to squeeze it out. Obviously an ugly win, but you'll take that on the road against a team that still has a pretty darn good defense. We talked about that on Friday. What did you make of the plan that Belichick and the Patriots defense had against Brady? Do you feel like that on top of the weather gave him some trouble over the course of today? Because they did look much more disjointed on offense than we typically have seen from them this year.
Yeah, they played the Patriots kind of played the Patriots way on defense, which I actually kind of like. They didn't blink. It wasn't so much the kitchen sink that they were throwing at them, but it was more like we being the Patriots played their defense really well. A lot of the one double stuff, or they're rushing five and just playing man coverage behind it. It was so jarring to see now Tom Brady, after we see years and years of quarterbacks, especially young quarterbacks, double clutching in the pocket, getting pushed on them, and then the quarterback having to throw the ball away. Also seeing Tom Brady being that quarterback that's double clutching and breaking out contain. It just is very jarring to watch happen in New England. But it was just, they had a good game plan. They understood the weather. They kind of just understood that the weaknesses of that defense can be usually a tight end or a running back beating you because it's hard to double those types of guys. And with Gronk out and really Gio Bernard, even though we don't think of him as a matchup nightmare, he would have really helped tonight, just having him underneath. Like you could see where that was coming into play because it's hard to push the ball downfield. Brady's ADOT averaged up the target today was 10.7, and that's really hard to do in the rain. That's a hard offense. We've talked about this. That's credit to the Bucs for so far this past year and a half making a hard offense look easy. We've said that before, but it looked hard tonight. It really did.
I have a strange question for you. Do you think teams take weather into account when they're planning schematics? Because man coverage, you typically have to play a little bit tighter than you do against zone, right? It's about ball placement, which was part of the argument as to why the Chargers might have thrown more man cover against Mahomes. It's like, we're going to make you make every pinpoint throw. In the rain, would it make more sense? I mean, the Patriots are already a man-heavy team, but in the rain, would it make more sense to maybe lean on more man coverage in order to make a team play a little bit more pinpoint on offense?
I think so. And also because if you were wanting to go zone, it would be almost like, hey, let's cloud the side that could do more damage. Like if it's really windy out, go like, hey, the side that the wind's going towards, like let's cloud that side. But man coverage, yeah, that's why you do man coverage, is you're forcing offenses to beat you one-on-one, to have somebody beat you one-on-one. And what's one of the weaknesses I think, that they might have is winning those one-on-ones, or like that's what you say in the rain. I mean, honestly, you would think Mike Evans or Godwin and Antonio Brown over
footing. There are a lot of different considerations. Yeah,
you also have to be
more precise.
The best way to win against man is running away, and also you have to anticipate those throws as a quarterback. That's one of the hardest things that a lot of these quarterbacks have to do. We'll get into rookie quarterbacks later, is learning to throw against man over and over and over, because you have to throw to a spot and trust that guy's going to be there and have to hold on to the ball an extra half second. So that's what it's really hard to do in the ring, because you're just adding that extra variable that you have to think about.
What did you think of the Mac Jones performance? Obviously, his numbers and completion percentage, all of that stuff looks great. He's getting rid of the ball quickly. He was 12 of 14 for 134 yards against the blitz before their final drive, which getting efficient, doing what you want him to do in those moments. I didn't come away from that game thinking he's the next great quarterback in the NFL, but I thought he looked like he knew what he was doing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's him from Alabama. It's like you always knew where the ball was going to the right spot, and I think that's still the same thing. He's the guy that you're still hoping he pushes the ball. And I get the weather today, but that's kind of been his MO, good and bad so far, is that
5.3 air yards per target today.
It seemed like that too. And that's kind of how he's been this whole season. That's where the Chad Pennington comparisons come in, is that like it's super accurate. I mean, rare accuracy, but then it's, oh, can you throw that dig instead of checking it down? You're right. You're happy with it, but it's like, oh, you don't want that Derek Carr problem to come up, which he's beaten this year, but it's a rookie. You also have to remember it's a rookie. So it's good that his eyes are going to the right place and that he's super accurate. It's just that you hope maybe that he's now taking more doubles and triples when they're there instead of just always taking the single.
I will say, compared to the other rookie quarterbacks that we've watched, many of whom have looked lost at times, really uncomfortable when it gets muddy in the pocket, when there's guys around them, his ability to navigate those situations looks far more advanced than the other guys that we've seen in the reps that we've seen to this point. He's not as physically talented as any of them, but he has been much better at dealing with the pocket and maneuvering it and navigating it, and just those aspects to his game. So that's a positive. There are commendable things to what he did tonight, but I think all of it comes with like a large lump of salt.
Yeah, they were putting him over a little bit on commentary tonight. Like they made it just sound like it was like, I mean, it was like a.
They had to try to compare Mac Jones and the greatest quarterback of all time. So if they could shrink that gap as much as possible, that was the goal.
He had a ball where Mac Jones, I'm not trying to like dog him or anything, but the ball was like looping out like on a check down or something like that. And he's like, I think Collinsworth was like, he's going to get there. He's going to get to that level. And I was like, I don't know if you can improve that, Chris. I don't know if you can improve zipping the ball out on a field out. Like I think he's maxed out there. You got to understand what he can improve on, but I don't think arm strength's going to help out that much.
This is going to be the Patriots formula this year, though, right? I mean, it's going to be great defense, which they have played for the most part through this entire season so far, and them trying to matriculate the ball on offense. Very workmanlike offensive performances, I think, is what we can expect from them. And that's okay. He's a rookie quarterback. That's what we should have expected. Their weapons, I think, still leave a decent amount to be desired. So they will find themselves over the course of the year. I still think their ceiling is quite limited on that side of the ball, but I didn't think that they were a contender coming into the season anyway. I think they will be feisty, annoying team to play every single week. That is
a pain in the ass.
That is my takeaway from that. That's what they were tonight, and that's what they're going to be for a while. The one other thing I'll say, I am genuinely concerned against a more high-powered offense about what the Bucs secondary is going to look like. Because we said it all spring. People ask me on radio shows or in conversation, what would stop the Bucs from repeating this year? And it's health. It's always health. Yep. I mean, when you have these situations, they were the healthiest team in the NFL last season, and health is not consistent from year to year. It's random. It's a roll of the dice for pretty much every single team that's not the Rams. The Rams are always healthy. They have figured something out.
And the Chargers and Giants for years.
Yes, on the other side of it.
Yeah, that was always the opposite.
And the unfortunate part is that is the area of their roster where they could afford the least amount of injuries because they weren't deep there to start with. And now, I mean, Richard Sherman's off the street and he's starting in a matter of days because they need him to. Losing Carlton Davis, if it's for any extended period of time, it would be devastating for them. Because, I mean, Russ Cockrell and Richard Sherman, it's 2014. It's a very strange situation and not the one that they had planned for. And apparently Antoine Winfield was out at the end of the game with a concussion, which losing guys there, that's when the team starts to deteriorate quickly. Secondary and offensive line, things can go south really, really fast. So it's just something to keep an eye on against teams that are averaging more than 5.3 air yards per target.
And especially since teams are not really keen on running the ball against them anyways because of Vita Vea and everything they have. So it's like, all right, well, it's more incentive that they're going to be chucking and ducking against them. I mean, it just makes sense now. So that is something that's to be circled and kind of looked at every single week is how other teams can get after them through the air.
All right, let's talk about the folks that got our attention this week.
Gentlemen, you had my curiosity, but now you have my attention.
Every NFL Sunday, there's a lot going on. I have 3 TVs in the basement. I have 5 full games going on at once, plus the red zone. There's a lot to sort through. So every week we like to take some time to step back and talk about who grabbed us, who made us sit up and take notice in that wall of stimuli that was coming at us. And I want to start with the Arizona Cardinals because that is a statement win today against a Rams team that was absolutely rolling. Yeah. I have my thoughts about the Cardinals, and it's a different takeaway than I expected before rewatching the game. What is your main takeaway after watching the Cardinals do that to the Rams today?
Oh my God, Kyler Murray! Like, take a bow. If you are standing up right now, take a bow. Like, he is playing fan-freaking-tastic.
It's wild.
It really is.
It's wild.
He punishes everybody. It's different from Lamar. Lamar punishes pass rush lanes, but then he's scrambling. Like, he can throw on the move, but he's going to beat you down with scrambles. Kyler beating you with his legs and then also with his arm talent is like he converted 2 third and extra longs today that just totally changed the game. He had the
Which
third
ones?
And 6. So
the 3rd and 16 scramble is like a back-breaking play. That's you look around and just like, what are we supposed to do?
It was a Sony Michel fumble, and then they get the ball. The Rams defense steps up. 3rd and extra long. They're outside field goal range. I think they're up at 42. 3rd and 16, he scrambles and gets the first down. They had the pass rush on. It's like, okay, geez, that's a tie turner. And then the 2-minute drill, they had 3rd and 14, and again, it was just outside field goal range. He starts scrambling, and then he checks it down to Edmonds, and it was just like that. I mean, that's just like, what do you do? Because that's you have your coverage, you have a good pass rush, and it's just like somebody make a play, like, good, come on, defense. Like, what? How do you coach that up on defense? That's so frustrating, and that's so, especially as an offense that has been just cooking so far this year. And it was really Stafford missed some throws today. Yeah. They made those mistakes, and the Cardinals took advantage of it the entire game. The run game looked good. And it just every time they got in 3rd and long and they were converting. Like, I mean, they were just doing enough. And Kyler's actually just hitting some of those plays, like hit some balls over the middle. Like Kyler Murray. Like,
the throw to Max Williams is
ridiculous. It's
like chef's kiss beautiful. It was an awesome throw.
So on those coverages, it's kind of cool for me because it's reminding me of old Big Ten coverages. With quarters, they that backside safety has to push to number 3 vertical, and that's the tight end usually. So Kyler beating the linebacker pushing back and then the safety pushing over is like you said, chef's kiss. It's like, oh, that's a 1% throw. And the fact that he's doing that
Rodgers throw, like those are like the throws that Rodgers makes.
Because it's a liner, but it gets over a guy. And it's like,
the touch and everything else on that throw is beautiful, and having to make that. He made so many on-time quarterback plays today on top of the bonkers out of structure stuff.
Yeah.
He was working AJ Green down that right sideline, just like getting hitches out before he was even out of his break, taking advantage of that one-on-one down the field, working very quickly and on time and in rhythm as a passer, unbelievable accuracy. And then those 2 third down plays, the 3rd and 16, it's funny because you say, what are you supposed to do about that as a defense? He's a guy that you draw it all up on the board. It's like, if we do this, we're fine. And then he just takes the board and smashes it over his knee. On offense, he does the opposite, where the stuff on the board isn't that impressive, and then you put him in there and it looks amazing. And that's what it was today. That 3rd and 16 play, Kenny Young has him, and it was a 5-man pressure, and he's looping around to the outside. I assume when they're drawing that up, it's like, all right, you contain here. Like you're coming out here. You have to have contain here.
He's going to run right into you. He's going to run right into you.
He did run right into him. Then he snapped his ankles on the way to the sideline. And he made so many plays today. And it was funny because we were talking about it before we started recording. And you said, I don't know about like the structure and the offense, everything else. I was like, come on, man. Like, really? We're going to do this again? And then I went back and watched it. And I was like, you're totally right.
I know.
He's just making crazy stuff happen. Yeah. I feel very comfortable in saying this. Through the first 4 games of the year, he is the most valuable player in the NFL. I don't know if he is the AP most valuable player winner, but based on whatever that criteria is, the Cardinals are 4-0. He is the most valuable player to the success of his team in football through the first month. I don't really think it's that much of a conversation. Like Mahomes, maybe. And like Lamar, maybe, just like pure value to what they are and their success. I think that Kyler's in that number 1 spot with a pretty comfortable lead.
For me, it's Kyler and Mahomes. Those are only 2 like we're talking. And then there's some other fun dark horses right now. I shouldn't say dark horses, but others in the convo. But to me, it's Kyler, and then it's a breath, and then it's Mahomes, and then it's another big breath. And that's how I look at it right now. I'm glad you brought up the AJ Green stuff. We talked about Ramsey being in the slot, and today he was in the slot almost like 3/4 of the time on the snaps today, at least when the game was still in an actual game before a blowout. And it makes sense. Like, I was like, man, AJ Green keeps getting the ball, and DeAndre Hopkins on the other side, all outside. It makes sense. Jalen Ramsey's on the inside. Where are they going to attack? On the outside. Like, they just went, oh, okay, you can't put number 5 everywhere. So, all right, Kyler's just going to pound it, all those stop routes. And if those guys want to be, even though they moved DeAndre Hopkins a little bit today, left and right only outside receivers, it's just so hard to go against 2 ball winners like that. Not everyone's going to have corners that can match up against that all the time. And then Kyler do all the stuff in the middle. And the fact that he hit a couple intermediate throws, like he hit an overthrow to, I think, Hopkins on a wide cross concept. And it was just like he threw, like you said, he threw.
And he put that low. He put low too. It was just like the ball placement on that was great. And then he had the whole shot to Hopkins up the right sideline too. That's a perfectly placed ball. I mean, the fact that on top of the, again, 3 or 4 back-breaking, just devastating out of structure plays on 3rd down, we can mention 5, 6, 7 throws where he's just playing really good quarterback. That's the dangerous combination. And that's where he is right now. And then on defense, Byron Murphy played really well, made like several big plays in this game. Antonio Hamilton, who's just like a street free agent corner, was huge pass break on a 3rd down to Cooper Kupp, where he's just covering him out of the slot. That's what's happening with this team right now, is that you have these ancillary pieces that are playing well. The line is playing really well. I think the left side, like Humphreys and Pugh, are playing well.
Humphreys had a pancake on a pole. Like, it was like I was like, who is this?
Do you know what else I like, though? And it's in stark contrast to a lot of the other things you see in the red zone with teams that are frustrating right now. The fact that they're always spread out. Their numbers advantage in the run game in the red zone gives them such a leg up, because they're just running into these 5-man boxes from the 2-yard line. And when you already have a one-man advantage because of what Kyler can do, and then you actually can outnumber people or at least go hat for hat inside the 2 as all of these other teams are struggling to punch the ball in, it gives them an advantage in a really important part of the field. I mean, consistently, they're just converting in that area, and that's some of Kyler. Like what he can do for you there in the run game is important, but just in terms of structure and numbers before the ball is even snapped, they're often in a really good place, and their guys up front are playing pretty well.
It negates any advantage like one guy can have. Like an Aaron Donald can't wreck as much if you're in the gun spread, because say he gets upfield, it's almost like they just wad it up and build a wall, and Kyler just gets upfield, or James Conner, because he's like a battering ram for him. Like it's like a perfect little, compliment with those two.
Very complimentary. I was going to say that. It's
nice.
True with all of their skill position players, right? Because they got the big body guys and they got Rondale, and it's just they've put it together in a really cool way. It does work together. We'll see what happens with the construction of the offense, but the construction of the personnel, especially the skill position players, I do like. The one other play I will mention, we talk about third down ridiculous plays. We didn't mention this because it was a third and short. The play where Donald just obliterates the inside move against Pugh, and then Kyler Murray makes Aaron Donald miss in space. It's like, all right, this is now on a whole different level. Like he's just doing this to everybody. Making Kenny Young miss on a big third down is one thing. Doing that to Aaron Donald is, we're talking all-time players and the best athletes and the best talents in the league in that moment working against each other.
It's a little different than the Jags defense, but also it was like this Rams defense, because that was my argument for it. I was like, well, the Rams have some stars that are going to be able to make some plays, and it's like the star beat the other star. That's a little tough. But oh man, that, like you said, I'm still a little apprehensive on the Cardinals as a whole, but it's just like, man, if Kyler plays like this is so much fun to watch. Like these are just hero plays, and he's now done it 4 straight weeks, and it's like, okay, there's gonna be a frustrating game in there, but I think this is more the majority now that he can consistently do this. It's pretty cool.
I totally agree. All right, let's get to our next one here. The Dallas Cowboys. You guys have my attention, notably their offense, and then a couple pieces on defense. I want to talk about the whole team because I think there were some notable things on both sides of the ball. Let's start with the run game. Because it's easy. We love Dak. Dak is playing very well. They have a lot of talent in the passing game, and their running backs are good. Tony Pollard is playing as well as any running back in the league, and Zeke had a really good day. But their line, I think, deserves some attention here, because coming into the season, it wasn't necessarily given to me that they'd have this elite offensive line. Tyron Smith has been hurt for years, on and off. I mean, Tyron Smith is a Hall of Fame talent at left tackle. He's been hurt for years. They've had questions about, all right, the names are the same. How good are they really? They're playing at an upper echelon level, and you could just see that throughout the entire game today.
Yeah, and it's that run game. It's no matter, it's a good run game when they can run any type of concept, and it looks great. Like they run inside zone, outside zone, split zone, duo, and then also like last week they ran running back draw at least 4 or 5 times. And actually, I know what the Cowboys signal for it now, which is pretty fun. It's honestly just like a Cowboy draw like that. Like we
that's really funny.
Wild West, yeah, I know. Might want to change it, Dak. But they did it over and over and over when they were going no huddle, and it just looked beautiful because the Cowboys O-line was passing off games, which is like, if you're doing that on draw, that's the good stuff. If you're running duo and you're doing QB or you're doing running back draw well, it's like, okay, that's good O-line play, because that means those guys are winning the one-on-ones and, mowing down some double teams. But the left side, like Tyron Smith, we talked about before the show, he's cutting guys off now again. It's dominance on every single play. Zach Martin, like we know how good he is, but just how good this run game looks every single snap is so much fun. And the receivers have bought into blocking. Amari Cooper is now getting pulled inside to block. Both of these tight ends, they go 12 personnel, and it's an advantage. Like both of the tight ends can hold their own on the edge, so they can do those other types of runs. And then they get their third.
They really can. Even when they're double teaming together, they look good on it, and they're getting movement on guys, which it's so funny because remember when we talked about this on Friday, we were talking about how the Panthers front was built. They have all that beef inside, but their edges are smaller. So they gapped them out, running that double tight stuff on one side, and those double teams with those tight ends. against a 240-pound edge rusher, you're going to get some movement on those plays. And that's exactly what was happening.
And also they were getting to inside zone a lot, like when the Panthers were going too high, but then Shaq Thompson and the other linebackers were playing really low. So when they're running the zone stuff, they were basically just wadding it up because the double teams only have to climb like 1 or 2 yards.
Yep.
And so it was just like, so all the cutbacks were happening because all the linebackers were just getting caught in the wash and just washing.
When you're getting
down.
3 yards of movement on the double teams and you don't have to come off on the linebackers, that's when you know you're cooking. And that's exactly what was happening today.
It helps a lot. Oh, and the other thing too was because the Panthers kept going big nickel, like they'd have Chin and in the slot. And so the Cowboys were going 13 personnel. We're getting 3. They're getting Sprinkle in there, 87. The other tight end. And so they're just like, okay, like we'll just go hip slot out of 13 personnel. And they're just pounding the rock. Like last week they went against the Eagles who were putting Avonte Maddox in the box against 2 eyes. So they're like, okay, let's just run duo over and over. And then this week they're like, okay, you guys want to just go big nickel and we have all this beef on our side. Like, okay, we'll just do it over and over. And they did. Like the fact they were 3rd best DVOA and run DVOA going into this week. And I think it's going to improve.
Oh, they will because the Panthers are number 1. The Panthers are number 1 in run defense DVOA, so they absolutely will be. On the first drive, there was on the big Zeke run, the first big Zeke run, Tyron Smith scooped a guy that was a gap and a half over. If you guys can go back and watch the play, watch where Tyron Smith starts and then watch where he gets to on the tackle. He literally turns him all the way around,
flips the hips
on that reach, which is crazy. It's a crazy block. And then a couple plays later, the Zeke run that got them inside the 5, if you watch the broadcast angle of it, the double team that Martin and Steele have, you can hear it on the broadcast angle. You can hear the impact they make on the double team as they're climbing up to the linebacker. Yes. They had a couple of those today where the movement they got, they literally didn't have to come off on the linebacker because they just dumped the defensive tackle into his lap.
Put it in his lap, yeah.
I mean, and then you combine that with just little tiny wrinkles in the passing game. The double move to Amari Cooper, where he motioned over, is just like a subtle little thing. The Cedric Wilson touchdown. They had
on the bubble pump, right?
Well, because they threw the bubble to him on a 3rd and short earlier in the game when he was the number 3 receiver. I can't remember as Dak was motioning to him. I didn't hear what he said, but he gave him a little hand signal and they threw the bubble to him for a first down. Okay. And they set up with that same look, but the tight end was the number 3 receiver.
Flat. Yep.
So Cedric Wilson fakes the block and then cuts back inside the fake bubble, and then they score a touchdown off of it. It's 3 series away, same look, similar situation, and it's just a little tiny compliment on it. Those wrinkles in the passing game, plus with the talent that they have, and them just mowing people down in the running game. Yeah. It's easy to get excited about where this team is right now. That was the best defensive football through 3 weeks. Maybe a product of who they played, but still.
Dak only threw 22 passes, and it was just like it's like because he didn't have to. They only went 3 for 9 on 3rd down, and they dominated the game because they're so good on 1st and 2nd down. I mean, that just speaks to how good they were in the run game, and also just what they had to do in the pass game. Like the naked game, all was good because everyone has to honor the run game. And then tight end, and it's honestly like one of those things where there's sometimes a lot of times when there's some blocking tight end, pass receiving tight end in. And it's like, all right, when he blocks down, it's going to be a bootleg because you're like, this guy's not getting asked coming in the game. But it's like with the Cowboys tight ends, they actually have to honor it because they're like, well, they do ask you guys to like lead block and down block and do all the actual real things. So it just opens up all the other stuff. I just love the mix of personnels too. Like
totally,
they're going jumbo and putting Connor McGovern at fullback. Like,
yep.
And then just the 13 personnel, and then they can go 4 wides on the next play. It's cool. I mean, this is what Boise State used to do under Kellen Moore. Like when he was a quarterback, they just mix all these personnels and formations and everything. And it's just like, oh, okay, let's do it at the NFL level with awesome players. And
he's really cooking. It's very fun to watch right now. I want to
the option pitch at the end.
Exactly.
It's like, okay, cool. Let's just do that shit now. It's a fun offense. It really is.
I want to talk about the defense. Before we do that, I want to just mention a lot of credit to Terrence Steele. Somebody who struggled to even stay on the field at some points in his career when he had to play. They brought in Heinicke this offseason, I assume with designs on making him their swing tackle. And now Collins gets hurt. They bring Steele in to be that guy and just playing really well, especially in the run game, playing with confidence. And just, I think we sometimes players can get better. They can improve. They can put in work. And for that guy to take the steps that he's taken, for them to be able to drop him in there and still play an elite level along the entire offensive line and not miss a beat, I think is a huge credit to him and the work that he's put in the games that he's made. Same goes for some of the guys on their defense. And all they need to do is make 4 or 5 plays a game. They need some drive-ending sacks. They need a pick or two, which apparently Trevon Diggs is going to get every single week now. Yeah. And they can win games. And that's what happened today. I love some of the stuff they're doing with certain pressure looks. I mean, this is a defense that I did not expect to enjoy watching coming into the season. And because of a couple specific guys and a couple curveballs they're throwing at people, I actively don't mind watching the Cowboys defense.
Yeah, it's either going to be like a train wreck play or like something really flashy and fun.
Which is great. That sounds perfect to me.
We kind of talked about it. It's almost like it's the Chiefs formula. I mean, it's exactly right. It's going off full court pressing. That's basically what they're doing. It's let's score a bunch of points on offense and control the rock, and then it's like when we don't have the ball, let's get the ball back as quick as possible.
And literally they play, I think, the fastest pace in the league right now. So you're not even a joke. That's how they play. It's like VCU.
What is that? Havoc ball, whatever it is. Yeah. Shaka Smart.
40 minutes. It's 60 minutes of Havoc when you play the Dallas Cowboys right now.
That's really what it is. It's just an onslaught of talent. I mean, that's honestly what they go for. And on defense, like just not only just Micah Parsons and his rushing, and I'm going to butcher this guy's name. Everyone said I was going to butcher his name, but Osa Ogadozua. Oga is their 3rd round pick, but he is playing phenomenal as a 3rd round rookie. Just creating pass rushes, and some of it is showing up in the box scores. But just if you just watch all these 3rd downs, he is teeing off on guys and getting really him and Randy Gregory with DeMarcus Lawrence. DeMarcus Lawrence was playing extremely well, especially in week 1. And then it was a shame that he got hurt, but all these other guys are stepping up. And
now they're doing it by committee, and they know they need to, and that's why it's cool. Is that there were a couple big plays today where they had Parsons lined up over the center and using him as the penetrator in stunts, where he's the one clearing out people, and Gregory was the looper. Gregory got 1 sack out of it, but I think they got another one later in the game, and then Gregory had a really nice hump move for a sack. I mean, he played really well today. Great. So just that by committee pass rush approach is really working for them. And then Diggs is like, I really think he's just superstar now. I don't know what else to say about it. Because the first pick he had, I don't know if the first pick Darnold threw right to him. I don't know if Darnold thought my assumption on that play, and I don't know, is that Darnold thought it was man coverage and that Diggs was on the point man in the bunch. And when he ran a little shallow cross, Diggs had followed him. In his mind, he just thought he was gone, and he was sitting there in zone coverage and he threw it right to him. But the second one, that's just him playing downhill on the ball. I mean, that's just great cornerback play. And he's doing all that stuff. I mean, that's exactly what the pick 6 was against Philly.
Yep, that was an undercut. I mean, that was great. And honestly, he probably gets a lot of experience stopping all those stop routes because that's what the Cowboys do in practice.
Hey, no pot shots at the Cowboys offense. They're playing too well. They don't deserve that from you.
They don't because I'm enjoying it too much. Yeah, but is it funny too, though, the Panthers, I have to talk about their offense real quick, was that even with Christian McCaffrey out, they still had to get to the choice concept. It was a great idea. Put DJ Moore at running back. Let's do it. Let's get him on the choice concept. But it worked. It did. But I mean, this Cowboys at this unit, this is what they have to do. Like Micah Parsons is like, we're going to take the Melvin Ingram crown for the best spinner, like him and Clowney. Like just having him just penetrating on that's a lot of heat. That's a big body that's really athletic. And even if it's like he's not getting the sacks, it creates a lot of muck for the quarterback to.
That's exactly right.
Can't step up. He can't especially when you get into those 3rd and 7s, 3rd and 8s, when these quarterbacks, they have to start driving the ball. So it's like might not get the sacks, but it's just making it harder. And then that's why Diggs can, start cutting on these balls. It's a trickle down effect. That's what pressure can create, and that's what they're doing a good job for, considering, like you said, it's by committee, and it's fun.
A couple more quick ones here, just people that grabbed my attention today. I wanted to mention the Ravens just because it wasn't the most exciting win in the world. They beat Drew Lock, who played for a good chunk of that game. But I still wanted to acknowledge that the Ravens went on the road against a team that is 3-0, and just the game was never in doubt. Like they just controlled the entire game. And I think these are the games we sometimes gloss over. Lamar made some monster throws in this game. Like the touchdown to Marquise Brown is just a 60-yard bomb that he hits it. And then there were several other big plays with his arm. And it feels like, to me, it's like Malkovich and Rounders. It's like they're hanging around and hanging around. Like they're 3-1 now. They're getting healthier. I think that like this is not good for other people. Like if this team just being relevant as we get deeper here is not something people want.
It's not like they're just, like you said, they're hanging around. And it's like not like this win today was more like, oh no, like they are winning. Like this is not like, oh man, they got lucky and they have to get healthy. Oh, let's see how Rashad Bateman does. It's like they're running like hip slot stuff, and Lamar is hitting dig. He hit a dig to Mark Andrews, and then he hit like a blaze out to Sammy Watkins. So I was like, what the hell is this? Like, where did this come from? Like, I know. So it's kind of cool to like they're getting. It's not perfect yet, but it's like what they're throwing in the pass game. It's like I am getting more excited to see Rashad Bateman come along. Like Devin Duvernay, like has a couple nice plays today, and like I thought he'd be more of a gadget guy, but now he's running slants and some actual real routes. It's like, okay, some of these pieces are coming along, and the O-line played well. I mean, that is a tough-ass D-line to go against, or at least pass rush unit, and the Broncos were bringing a lot of shit. Like, they brought 5. They were trying to heat them up, and Lamar did a good job. The O-line did a good job protecting, and Lamar did a good job of just hanging in the pocket. Like, he really did some quarterback things today, and it's like that speaks to what he did today, and the whole Ravens team, really. Their defense, that was like exactly what you picture the Ravens defense doing. Bringing 5, running man coverage. Bringing 5, running man coverage.
Well, against a team without any talent left at wide receiver, I mean, that's exactly what you can do. I mean, you can just suffocate them.
And Drew Lock out of there, it was like a feeding frenzy. It was like, oh boy, he's gonna have to beat man the rest of the game. This is not gonna be pretty.
And that's why I want some caveats. Obviously, like beating Drew Lock and beating that team on offense, that's not the most impressive thing to me. It's the way they threw the ball against the Broncos defense. Like the Broncos defense is that all the guys are there outside of Bradley Chubb. Like it's, for the most part, it's a unit that we're still excited about with that's very well coached and has a lot of good players. And the Ravens slung the ball around today. The last guy I wanted to mention that has my attention, because literally this is what this segment is for. When I'm watching 17 things happening and out of the corner of my eyes, some guy is just captivating. Taylor Heinicke, every end of the spectrum here, anything is on the table and I'm here for it. Like the two biggest plays he made today are just no, yes plays to the nth degree.
He's like watching, like every time you watch him, it's honestly like the Chariots of Fire theme is just playing throughout the entire time. Like that's what he seems like. He is permanently in a sports movie. That's like a running joke now, but he is permanently.
It's so true. It's so true.
He reads the ball, like he reads every concept perfect. It's just that he's late on some throws and he has no arm strength. So it's like if the defense can't make a play on the ball in the air, like he's gonna get after you a little bit. Like that ball's looping the Diggs, and it's like, well, they're going for 20-yard gains because no one's breaking on it. I wrote it down. I don't know why. I think I just wrote Mox, and I think the joke I was going for here, it's like if Mox is if James Vanderbeek's character from Varsity Blues, Mox, like if he made the NFL. That's Tyler Heinicke. That's him playing quarterback. That's it. Where's number 4 too? Like that's exactly what it is. And
making that throw all the way back across the field to McKissick, and then the second touchdown to McLaurin, he's just chucking it up there. To be honest, we talk about guys playing like they have nothing to lose. What does Taylor Heinicke have to lose? Taylor Heinicke is where did he go to school? Old Dominion. He was a backup quarterback in the AAF. Like this guy is. No one has ever been playing with house money to the degree that Taylor Heinicke is right now, and that's fine, and that's why I love it. I do too. It is watching him play football has been very entertaining I mean, he has 3 starts this year, right? I mean, and 2 of them were wildly entertaining games. Their wins against the Giants and the Falcons. So I don't know how good the Washington football team is, but I do know that he's given me some moments of joy. As you mentioned this to me today, we're getting the Fitzpatrick experience and the Fitzmagic experience with no Fitzmagic. It's pretty much the same thing.
We're getting the do it yourself version. That's what we're doing. We're getting that version of magic. We bought the little shop pack.
Taylor Heinicke watched a YouTube video about how to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. That's exactly what we're getting from the Washington offense right now.
He wants to sleight of hand, the David Blaine street magic. That's what he learned. And then that's his version of it. No, honestly, Tyler Heinicke, since I was at Pitt 2013, and he's torched us at Old Dominion. They ran no huddle, and they ran honestly 5 plays, like 2 double flats, empty out of and curl flats. Like that's all they ran. They ran like 5 plays, and they torched us. I mean, we ended up winning. Pitt did, but it was like ever since then he's been in my mind, and He's never going to escape my football like analyzing career ever. Like he's just going to be a permanent character in that story.
I'm here for it because it's been enjoyable to this point. All right, we're going to take a quick break.
We'll return after these messages.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp Online Therapy. Check out betterhelp.com/maze. Life is full of stressors. Doesn't matter who you are or what you have, your life is probably stressful. We all have those impediments that we run into over the course of our daily lives that just drain our energy or make things a little bit more difficult. That's where therapy can help. It's really nice to have someone that can lighten the load and talk through some of the things that you want to do to make your life the version of it that you're seeking out. BetterHelp is customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist, so you don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. It's much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Unload the stressors and get some unbiased feedback. You'd be pretty surprised at what you might gain from it. See if it's for you. This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and the Athletic Football Show listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/maze. That's BetterHelp.com/MAYS. Growing up, cereal was one of the best parts of being a kid, but I had to give it up because as I got older, I wanted to try to start eating better, and cereal just didn't fit into a healthy diet the way that I saw it. That's where Magic Spoon can help. It has all the amazing cereal flavors you love without all the bad stuff. Magic Spoon has only 0 grams of sugar, 13 to 14 grams of protein, and only 4 net grams of carbs in each serving. It's also only 140 calories a serving. It's keto-friendly, gluten-free, grain-free, soy-free, and low-carb. You can also build your own custom bundle with cocoa, fruity, frosted peanut butter, blueberry, cinnamon, cookies and cream, and maple waffle as available flavors. Go to magicspoon.com/maze to grab a custom bundle of cereal and try it today. And be sure to use our promo code MAZE at checkout to save $5 off your order. Magic Spoon is so confident in their product, it's backed with a 100% happiness guarantee. So if you don't like it for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember, get your next delicious bowl of guilt-free cereal at magicspoon.com/maze and use the code MAZE to save $5 off. Thank you to Magic Spoon for sponsoring this episode.
Why don't you explain this to me like I am an 8-year-old?
All right. Every week we're going to have someone kind of come and explain their performance to us because we're going to need a little bit of context and a little bit of help. And I'm going with the quarterback play in Browns Vikings today.
Wow.
At one point, I talked to you about this. It was the pointing Spider-Man meme with Kirk Cousins and Baker Mayfield. They were playing at about the same level. It was about the same level of unwatchable. The difference is, even if Kirk Cousins has been playing well this season, the Vikings aren't a contender. We know that. We think they could be a pretty good team. The Browns are supposed to be one of the best teams in the NFL. I am concerned about how far that can go with Baker Mayfield playing at the level he did today and quietly at the level he did last week when we were all talking about Justin Fields and the offensive performance from the Bears.
Yes. And that was something we talked about on the Friday show. And it was kind of like a drive-by I did. It was like a passing glance where we just like ricocheted something off Baker real quick. But it's last week against the Bears, he took 5 sacks, and it was a lot of the same issues that Justin Fields was getting dinged for. A rookie QB making his first start against that blitzkrieg of a defensive line. Baker was making the same mistakes, and this is a guy that was a former number 1 pick and now going in his 4th year, and that's scary. And the guy that's about to like maybe get a big contract, that he is bailing in the pocket, that he's not seeing intermediate throws like on play action concepts that are supposed to be there. Like that's the design.
It's supposed to be what they do. It's supposed to be how their offense functions.
This type of offense is we have talked about a Shanahan Kubiak type of offense, and Stefanski kind of is a hodgepodge of a lot of things, but it's that's where some of the roots are.
In his core, that is what he is and wants to be. He loves the keeper game maybe more than Gary Kubiak loves it.
Yes, he does. And we made fun of it sometimes is that we say it puts the quarterbacks with training wheels. Like that's what it does. It's like, oh wow, they have a training wheels offense. But the thing is, if you only have to make 7 quote unquote real throws or 8 real quarterback throws, NFL quarterback throws, you have to hit them. Like that is, if you're only going to be asked to do those throws, you have to hit them a majority of the time. You might not, maybe not all of them. If you hit all of them, then you're Matt Ryan in 2016. Okay, like that, that's the type of performance you put on. But you have to be able to put a majority of these throws ball on the money. And there's at least 3, and that's just me counting on the back of my head, not even taking notes on it. 3 daggers that he missed today where the game could put the game out of hand. And
the
that's
last
Baker.
Odell one is horrifying. I mean, that's
even
just
Odell gave him the palms up. Odell doesn't really show, like, Odell has a lot of personality, but he doesn't show up the quarterback like that. And he showed him up, and that's kind of telling, I think, like that. It's like, oh, wow, that's some frustration that comes from not just that throw.
You can question the decision to throw that ball in that moment, but I don't. It's a touchdown. The game should be over. He's wide open.
It was a dagger.
I mean, you have to make that throw, and it's his numbers today: 15 to 33 for 155. His average completion traveled 4.4 yards in the air.
So many screens.
So many screens because it's all they can do. On third down, it was all they can do. They have the best screen game in the NFL, in my opinion. The ways they can get to their screens are gorgeous. So they leaned on that in multiple third down situations. How many ways they dress up their tight end screen game is awesome. Like, it's just so fun to watch. But that was the only part of their passing game that was fun to watch today. Negative 13.5 completion percentage over expectation today. Negative 13.5. It was the third worst of the day. Teddy Bridgewater is number 1. Trey Lance was number 2. And Baker Mayfield was number 3. Again, one of these things is not like the other thing.
Yeah.
Baker Mayfield is supposed to be on the ascent. And all of the plays in this game where he's bailing to the right again, where he's running out the back of the pocket and bailing to the right in the red zone multiple times.
Yep.
And I just think the way he's playing quarterback is concerning. Their red zone offense is really, really disjointed, in my opinion. I think he's part of that, but I also think they're not in a groove down there.
Yep.
When they put together their coaching staff 2 off seasons ago, when Stefanski was trying to build it, one of the reasons they brought Chad O'Shea in as their receivers coach was because the Kubiak offense can occasionally struggle in the red zone because play action and space is the currency that it trades in. When the field condenses, things can get a little tighter for you.
Yep.
The Patriots have always been excellent in the red zone. That family has been pretty good in the red zone. So it's just all right, let's get some red zone ideas and just have him be a part of the staff. Their red zone package does not look good. They've struggled in the red zone consistently this year. And it's just one of their issues. And when he's not playing well and they can't punch the ball in, I don't know. I'm just having this sneaking feeling about, like, they need something needs to get right here. Like, something needs to get back on track because whatever this is not working at this current stage.
Yeah, and the fact that it's been like a couple of these weeks and it's against a varying kind of defenses that attack you, kind of like just, some of the structure is the same, but like just how they get after you a little bit is different, and that you struggle against both in similar ways where you're missing those type of throws and missing out throws where you're sailing the ball. Like, that's what's concerning too. It's like, it looks like he's never Baker. His arm strength is good, and I think it gets exaggerated a little bit because he looks like he's throwing so hard when he throws all these seam balls and everything. But he does have a strong arm. But the thing is, sometimes he sees that late, and a lot of those throws that he throws real well will sometimes be those seam balls. But the reason that he can throw those seam balls is because he can literally see it, like not anticipating a throw. I have made a joke that Baker is Russell Wilson without the athleticism. And that's sometimes what he looks like.
It's a really good comparison. It's a very good comparison.
Same limitations. Those throws in the middle and then throws, like, he wants to see stuff on the outside. He has to see it come open on the outside, but then he doesn't get that bail button that Russell has, that Russell gets away with. So he doesn't have that room for error. So if that's what your limitations are, it's you have to be a monster from the pocket. And then all those chunk throws, they don't dial up for you. You have to hit them. And the fact that he's so up and down like this, and last year, He creeped up when the weather wasn't shit for him in some of those games, but it was like he still had some of these throws that he just misses, and it's like that's hard. The defense isn't always going to be dominant. They had a good game today, but like the defense sometimes isn't going to have those types of games. You're going to have to make those throws. If the defense on the other side of the ball is dialing up stuff against you, it's hard. And honestly, this game today, what we've knocked on Kirk Cousins about, it's like Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter, where it's like this. It's the same character, like the same issues, the same strengths, same negativity, but they just dressed up just a little bit different. That's what it feels like. It is a Spider-Man meme, but it's just any version of that where it's same character, but just different pixels and colors. That's what they are. It's Scorpion and Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. So like
I have
that's
faith
what
that
they
they'll
are.
figure it out on offense. I just think that they're too well
still a
coached.
good
Too many good
team.
players. They're still going to be a good team,
Yeah.
but it's going to be in the back of my head, like that little kernel of, is he good enough? And it's still going to be there for me when he has moments like this. All right, let's get to a question of whether we need to pump the brakes on something this week.
Pump your brakes, kid.
We use this time every single week for me to throw something out and you to tell me if I'm taking it a little bit too far. And this week I want to talk about the Dolphins. Is the Dolphins rebuild a letdown? We talked a lot about it. You think so? You think you were prepared to say this is disappointing? Like we are. I don't. Failure might be too strong for me.
Yeah,
but I think it is a decided letdown.
I think it's definitely a letdown. It goes to show again, your process can be good and accumulating picks can be good. You still have to hit on some of these picks. It's a coin flip. Every single draft pick is going to be a coin flip, but you can't go over. And especially the emphasis, I do believe in Brian Flores. I think he's a good head coach. I think how he's handled personalities, how this defense plays week in, week out, even when the team was shit a couple of years ago, that's why I was a bigger believer in him than maybe before, not really knowing who he was. But it's very telling that your quarterback of the future, your Tua, that's who they kind of built this team around. That's it's anointed by the ownership and everything. That when he went out, he was announced that he was out, and Jacoby Brissett was the starter. The Vegas line didn't move at all.
0
and
points.
That's scary.
That's my question. Do you feel like we're too quick to this because Tua's been hurt? Are we overstating how bad they look on offense and overall because their quarterback is not playing? Or are we so unenthused about the way that quarterback was playing with a prospect of him that we should remove that from the equation when considering if this is going well?
I think it's a little bit of quarterback and it's a little bit of everybody. Like, who are their players? Like, who are these guys that they drafted?
That 2020 class looks really problematic. I mean, the fact that you're first Tua, whatever about Tua, let's leave Tua aside.
Yep, let's leave Tua aside.
Austin Jackson has been rough. Really, and he came into the league young. But this is year 2. You want to see some progress. I don't know how much progress there's been. Noah Benigni has been inactive.
Yeah.
And this is a team that plays like 17 defensive backs and wants to be the Patriots.
They want to go 7 DBs.
The idea that your first round corner is a healthy and active in year 2, that's tough. And then Robert Hunt, who they drafted in the second round, their offensive line is not good. Nope. It is a consistent problem against a Colts team that hasn't exactly been dominating people up front over the course of the season so far. I don't know, man. I mean, you talk again, the Tua injury. I think that deserves a little bit more time, but I mean, this team is 1-3. They had playoff hopes this year. This was supposed to be the year where they really cranked it into high gear. And I know that their starting quarterback has been hurt, but you want to see the other aspects of the offense play better. And the defense has still been fine. I mean, they've been a top 10 defense. They've played pretty well, but the other aspects of this team have not come as far as anybody would have hoped over the last year or so.
And even like a free agent signing like Byron Jones looks great. Like he does look perfect in what they're trying to do, but it's like the other ones they've had have been like, what was that? Like Kyle Van Noy last year, signing for big money, and then, okay, let's cut him after a year.
Yep.
Gone. But even like when it happened in the draft, I kind of let this go unscathed, and I kind of want to get back to it because I feel empty inside, not like taking a pot shot at this, but like trading a first rounder for a small receiver in the top 10. Okay. Like trading up for that, like with the Jalen Waddle stuff, like they might lose that first rounder next year with the receivers. This was a deep receiver class, and the guy, and I like Waddle, like he is a good player, but I do think he's a small receiver that has to get dialed up and get off press. That's a little like, okay, what's your line of thinking there? Like, you're not a piece away. Like, this offense is more than one piece away. This offense needs as much guys as possible. Like, they just need talent. And so that's like, okay, that's, that really didn't get as many shots against it, that line of thinking, that franchise building kind of move that maybe we've made fun of other teams for. And so it's just kind of one of those things. They've swung and missed on a lot of these picks. I'm not saying Waddle's a bust or anything like that. I'm just
saying that's bad process. The other things have been good process, bad results. This was bad process, maybe decent results. I agree. I mean, you and I both talked about this. Taking any receiver at 6, it would have to be somebody truly special. Yes. Let alone trading away a future first-round pick to go get that guy.
Yeah.
And yeah, I do.
Scary.
It was a mistake in the moment, probably. And even if he ends up being a good player, I totally agree with you. And, we'll see how this all comes along. It's still, these are still young draft classes. These guys are 18 games into their career, in some cases, 20 games into their careers. It absolutely could turn around. But where we're at right now, all that we've seen, there is not much to get excited about with the young core of the players that they've drafted over the last couple of years. There just isn't.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on here. I want to do a new segment, and I want to be able to, every single week, I want to have the option to do this. I want to be able to put up the quarterback bat signal for you. I want to be able to talk about something quarterback specific, and I just throw it up if we need to over the course of the afternoon. The moment that Trey Lance got in the game today, the quarterback bat signal was up in the air. I don't know. It's Midge's face. That's what it is. The bat is the bat signal is an actual bat. It's just a cutout stencil of Midge with this light shining through it, just above the Vegas Strip. That's what
just
the quarterback bat signal is.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. It's
so Jimmy Garoppolo has a calf injury, which
does he now? I didn't know your pride was located on your calf.
Wow.
Well, I don't know why I'm so mean to Jimmy.
He was dealing with it all game. Apparently, he's frustrated about it. So Trey Lance comes into this game, and as Kyle Shanahan said afterward, he looked like a number 2 quarterback. That's why he's our number 2 quarterback. The final numbers are hilarious because he threw a 76-yard touchdown pass and he threw 2 touchdown passes. -17 completion percentage over expectation. He completed 50% of his balls. It looked like his head was spinning out there.
He was spraying a little bit. He looked like that was one of the things that one of my negatives when I was writing him up was when he isn't anticipating, he can overstride. And that's a common problem. That's a Baker Mayfield. I just talked about it. Is do you overstride so the ball sails on you? He had a couple of those today that he was on those spray. What's kind of funny, I thought, with this offense was we've talked about hip slot, and that's a 12 personnel version. The 49ers version is going what I call king slot, which is fullback slotted over towards a nub tight end. And it honestly reminds me of when Shanahan had RG3 as a rookie. That was in the pistol. They ran that formation so much, and I could tell that was Shanahan's way of going okay, let's make this as simple as possible for this guy because let's get his feet wet a little bit. I think he even said he goes, he looked okay for a guy that had no plays in the playbook drawn up for him on the game.
That's why you hope this can look better. But dropped into this situation, I mean, it just looked like his head was turning like a merry-go-round. I mean, it was all over the place. And I have a lot of faith that it will look better over time.
Yeah.
But in this moment, it was a scattershot performance in more ways than one.
I would say the one positive I did have with him, it was other than the obvious athletic ability, was that when he was one and done on a lot of his reads, but the thing was he was decisive at least, where he was
taking off.
Hey, one's not open, let's go, plant my foot. There was no head spinning trying to find the perfect throw. He said, hey, I know one route. I've made fun of Drew Lock for doing this sometimes. He only knows one route on the concept. I think Trey Lance was the same way. He goes, I know what the X is tagged in here. He's not open. All right, let's be an athlete, buddy. So it's all right. I always appreciate that. Some decisiveness with the scrambling.
All right. While the bat signal's in the air, let's talk about some other rookie quarterbacks very quickly. I don't know what to make of the Bears. I tweeted this during the game. Every year, it seems like the Lions come along at the exact right time. The Lions come along at get right time, and that is what happened today. Justin Fields looked so much better. The things they were doing for Justin Fields made so much more sense. The idea that there was under center play action, he was pushing the ball down the field. Who would have thought that was the way to use the guy who had incredible accuracy to all levels of the field? Justin Fields looked like the prospect Justin Fields today, which for the moment is very encouraging if you care about the Chicago Bears, which I do.
So you're a little happy. This is why we're doing this right now, guys. His average depth of target 13.6 today, which is hilarious.
Do you know what it was on play action?
No, it was 20.
It was 20 even. It was 20 even. He was 5 of 6 for 86 yards with an average depth of target of 20 air yards on play action today.
Bombs away. That's what he can do, and he can zip those in there. I mean, he hit a couple today. They had the leaner kind of corner post, and he didn't even put that. He didn't let the safety make a play because he put no arc on it. he just like looped that one right in there, like just throwing the go balls, like that go ball
seam
was
to
gorgeous.
Mooney. The go ball
Yeah.
to Mooney was beautiful, and then the
Beautiful.
seam to Mooney, he held the safety with his eyes for just
Yeah.
long enough, and then came back to it. It's like, all right, this was great. The one
Yeah.
thing I will say about even like hard to get excited because it's Lions.
Yeah.
Bill Lazor was calling plays today.
Mhm.
He has done a better job as the Bears play caller over the last 2 years than Matt Nagy has.
Yeah.
Point blank. The offense has looked better when he has called plays. He apparently now is calling plays again. I think that is a good sign for the Bears. I don't know what that means long term, beyond this year, beyond the next couple months, whatever. But I do know right now, I think this offense looks better with him dialing stuff up because they just seem more willing to be under center, to use play action, to do some of the stuff they did last year when they were trying to make things easier on Trubisky. It sucks that David Montgomery got hurt today because he's been playing pretty well. And I think that downhill running game is a big aspect of this offense. Hopefully Damian Williams can carry over some of that, but I liked what I saw from the way that the Bears deployed Justin Fields today.
I agree. And just, his game flow, his calling, his play calling flow was so much better. You could just see him setting up stuff, which was so good to see. And, and with Fields, it's, I would say some of the quick game stuff he still has to, improve on, like getting the ball just a hair quicker. Like you could tell he's almost too perfect with them and just letting those out a little bit. But man, like he's already improved with some of the protection stuff. And even in the shit start last week or the shit game last weekend, but the week that he had to come in against the Bengals, like he was adjusting protections before the fall starts and stuff like that. That's on the center. That's a whole nother conversation. But it was really cool to see him improving that way. And then now having a good performance, like a full game performance, it's like, okay, cool. Like now we can actually see a rookie year as opposed to like a total train wreck and actually see tangible plays where you can grade this guy and actually enjoy him a little bit because he's a fun player.
That's all I want. It's just to have a real year from him, and I think that this is a step in the right direction. They won't play the Lions every week. I think it's very important to understand that, but this is a step in the right direction. Let's keep with the rookie quarterback check-in here while the bat signal's up. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this. Zach Wilson's overall performance today may have not been great. He made some plays that just made me smile, though. I mean, there are 3 or 4 throws today where it's like, holy shit, okay.
Yeah, even his bad games the last couple of weeks, he's had like 2 or 3 and those are like, holy shit. It's like going to his left and like 50-yard lasers on guys, but then it's like there's about 4 or 5 plays where you're like, oh boy, Zach, this isn't BYU. That's not New Mexico State you're going against.
And I think there was some of both today.
Yes.
But they won. Congratulations to them. It's his first win. It's Robert Saleh's first win.
Yeah.
The throw he made on the rolling to his
Ridiculous.
right late in the third quarter to Keelan Cole, that's an insane throw. That's legitimately awesome. And then the redirect to Corey Davis on the touchdown where he's pointing and he makes the throw. And then the corner route that he had to Keelan Cole in overtime. It's
all badass throws, man.
Great plays. It sprinkled in with probably another very not good game. I just looked at the numbers, but I assumed there were some troubling aspects to his performance, considering the overall statistical output. I did not watch the whole game. I will be very honest, but the splash plays that he made were excellent. The other question I have is the AFC South the worst division in football? I think is very clear.
Yeah, that's easy.
No one wants to win it.
No.
Who do you think is the best team in the AFC South as it currently stands?
Oh, Titans, but that's that's just a gun to head. Like I have to say that. But I don't believe it.
It's rough. All right, you have 10 seconds to talk about Trevor Lawrence because if we're doing a rookie quarterback check-in.
Trevor Lawrence is the truth. No one should be negative on him. He is honestly a guy that is going to be a legit franchise quarterback. He already is. The things he's doing right now is ridiculously rare. He's changing protections on every single play. He's making his eyes are downfield despite the pass rush. He's a rare athlete. He's 6'6". It's like he's ridiculous. Just give him some time. And you got to realize this team went 1-15 last year. This team would be a laughingstock, like one of the worst teams we've ever seen in the NFL if Trevor Lawrence wasn't the quarterback right now. That's what he's just keeping up to competency. And Jacksonville has enough issues, I think, as a franchise right now. So just appreciate what Trevor Lawrence is because he's really ridiculous.
That was incredibly efficient. Your EPA per snap there was higher than the next guy we're going to talk about.
We're
about to decide who gets the belt this week.
You're talking franchise. You're talking money. You're talking notoriety. Wheeling, dealing, limousine riding, jet flying, son of a gun. Woo!
Woo! Cat, man.
The best part about these is that we don't know what they are every single week. Kent is just dropping in the wrestling drops unbeknownst to us. So they're a surprise to us as they are to you every single Sunday night, which is great. I guess it's Monday morning now, even in Central Time. Every week, we're going to pick who is just one cut above everybody else, the guy that just deserves the belt that week. I think we could give it to Kyler Murray. We've talked a lot about Kyler Murray the last couple of weeks. I want to give it to Patrick Mahomes. And it's for this reason. I am guilty of this. I already take Patrick Mahomes for granted. He's so good and he's been so good that it's easy to forget, or it's easy to take for granted, that he is the most talented thrower of the football that's probably ever lived. And today was one of those games. I think he made a throw from every conceivable arm angle over the course of those 4 quarters.
He's doing everything right now. Like his in-pocket stuff, ad-libbing stuff, like throwing it to the tight ends over the middle, or to Kelsey over the middle, but then also just doing the trick shot stuff, like, even just the shovel passes. And then also,
just trying to screw around at this point. It honestly feels like he's kind of bored.
It's the Larry Bird story when he only shot lefty. Like that's what it feels like a little bit. Like today he had a 24.5 EPA. His CPOE was 16.9, like 98th and 97th percentiles, and we don't even blink an eye. Like because it's so expected. Like it honestly is like Michael Jordan in the 90s, where it's like the only we talked to, like, hey, Kyler, I mean, really right now is the narrative MVP, but it's always going to be Mahomes' title to lose. Like you always just it's like it's going to be Mahomes, and then it's like you have to do something special like Kyler is doing right now to even be in that conversation, because he's had 2 games with a QBR over 90 right now. His QBR is 82.7. His 2018 season, it was 80.3. Like so he's already on a historic pace. He's only been sacked 5 times this year, and he's only lost 29 yards on those 5 sacks total. Like he's scrambled 15 times, or he has 15 rushes. He's gotten 7 first downs on those 15 rushes. Like everything he does right now is just, it's ridiculous. And I mean, I think he deserves a belt, because it's just, he's thrown at 72%, and it's honestly, it's so much fun. It's so enjoyable to watch him, even especially going against a team maybe this week where it's like, maybe not the greatest opponent. So you get to kind of see what the ceiling is for a guy like this. It's a lot of fun.
The last touchdown to Hill, he's throwing off his back foot, and it's just he launches it 50 yards in the air. Though that's cool. To me, it's
that's cool.
I'm gonna love that stuff, right? Like I love like Justin Herbert opposite side hole shots from 50 yards. That shit is fun to watch.
Yeah.
The Mahomes stuff, it's the arm angle changes within the pocket on shorter things, because we've talked about this. Your RPO looks a lot different when he's putting on a guy running full speed 12 yards past the line of scrimmage. His ability to fit those throws in with accuracy to just get guys moving, it's truly remarkable. And that touchdown he threw to Hill today on that exact type of idea, where it's just pretty much sidearm, laser, low, just the accuracy, the arm angles, the creativity. I just want to every once in a while kind of step back and be like, we're watching something. Like he is truly, in my opinion, I thought Aaron Rodgers was. I said it for years and years and years and years that he was the most talented thrower of the ball I've ever seen. This guy's more talented. Like he can do more things. And sometimes I think it's just important to take a breath, step back, acknowledge that, and we'll move on to week 5.
And going from like that inevitable feeling that Rodgers always gave you, like we felt Sunday night, or last week and all that, it's like, that's what Mahomes, every time he gets the ball, it's like the Eagles went down and scored. The Eagles, I mean, we can talk about the Chiefs defense on another time, but they go down and score, and you give the ball back to the Chiefs, and you're just like, well, here comes a touchdown. Like, it's like you're expecting a touchdown. And anytime it's not a touchdown, it's like, oh, wow, like what happened there to the Chiefs? Because it's like that feeling, that way, that the joke, like I am inevitable, like that Thanos says. That's what Mahomes is. He is inevitable. Like just every time he touches the ball, it's like, well, if you don't stop him for less than 7, it's like good luck stopping this entire team, because he just does it for 60 minutes, and it's unbelievable to watch week in, week out the stuff that he's able to do.
What are you watching this week? What are the things that you did not watch enough today that you want to go take a look at before we talk next?
I'm for sure going to watch everything the Cowboys did today because that's become one of my favorite watches. I actually want to see what the Panthers defense did because they did have some pressure stuff that was good, but Dak just got the ball out quick. So I that whole matchup I want to watch. I got to see what the hell that Saints-Giants game was because I have no
0
idea.
seconds. 0 seconds of the game.
I think about 7 for me. And I have no idea what to make the Saints right now. So I really got to get a better feel for them. But
you just can't watch everything. You can't watch everything every Sunday. There are going to be games we just don't watch. And that was one of the games it wasn't on.
Impossible.
I did not see any, I saw the end, but other than that, I did not see anything. And I want to go back and watch the Browns defense and what they did today because the Vikings offense have been playing well. So I know it was a bad day for Kirk, but I want to go see what the Browns defense did because that's 2 games in a row where they've played well. And I was excited about the talent they had on the back end. So I want to dig into that a little bit. And I have to go back and rewatch the Giants Saints game because I did not watch much of that.
And I'm excited for Monday night tomorrow. That's gonna be a fun one. Or tonight, I guess, if you're listening to this right now. But that's gonna be a fun one. I think Raiders Chargers is gonna be a lot of fun.
Really looking forward to that. Speaking of tomorrow, we are having Stephen Ruiz from The Ringer now, which is funny to say for me, on tomorrow to do the mailbag. Please send in your questions if you have not. I typically finalize the questions about 1 p.m. Eastern to give our guests some time with them and to give me some time with them, just so you guys know. So it's kind of a soft deadline for getting in your mailbag questions. You can call in. The voicemail number, if you want to leave a voicemail, which we love, is 872-222-7073. One more time, 872-222-7073. You can also send us an email at athleticfootballshow@gmail.com. Also, please, if you guys have not, check out our fantasy podcasts, Best on the Board and the Athletic Fantasy Football Podcast. We don't do a ton of fantasy stuff on this show. If that is something that you're interested in, please go check out the work that they do, but also listen to this show. That is also important.
How many Browns fans did you have voicemails did you have last week? Did you have any
Bears fans?
Did I say Browns? I mean, how many sad Bears
multiple fans? People called in saying that they had been drinking all day. Multiple people, which good for you guys. I'm glad that that's how you're dealing with it. And hopefully the Bears emails and the Bears voicemails we get this week are a little bit better. Yeah. We'll see how that goes. Guys, as always, thank you so much for spending the time. If you were here on YouTube with us, really, really appreciate it. We always have a great time doing this. If you're listening on the podcast, hope you're enjoying yourself as well. We'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday. We'll be back on Tuesday. Time is a very funny construct in all of this. We'll be back on Tuesday with the mailbag episode with Stephen Ruiz. Until then, enjoy Monday Night Football. Enjoy your day. We'll talk to you guys soon.